Well, good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody to the December 2nd meeting of the Temple Terrace City Council. I can't believe it's December. I don't know what happened. It seemed like it was just February, and all of a sudden it skipped to December. So I hope everybody had a good holiday last week. And I'd like to remind you to please silence your electronic devices. And if you would, please stand and join me in the invocation and the pledge. Lord, as we begin our meeting tonight, we are reminded of all that we have to be grateful for. We thank you for your many blessings and ask your guidance as we work to advance the common good of all in our city. We pray for those tonight who are sick or suffering in our community. May you grant them healing and peace. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. We normally begin our meetings, I think most people are catching on to this, with a historical or interesting fact about our city or our region. That duty rotates. We each take a turn at that, and tonight it's Council Member Kravitz's turn, and I think he might be stuck in traffic or somehow detained. He's not here yet. So we will skip over that, and our next item is something I don't think I've ever had the opportunity to do this as mayor. So, and I've been mayor long enough that there's not a whole lot of firsts here, but this is, I think, one of them. So I'd like to invite Mr. Jerome Sullivan to the podium, please. Good evening, Mr. Sullivan. This is an amazing story I'm about to tell you. Mr. Sullivan, Jerome Sullivan, is being recognized for his bravery and courage with a Citizen Award of Valor. On October 14th of 2025, Mr. Sullivan demonstrated extraordinary courage and selflessness while intervening in a violent attack on a young woman along North 56th Street. Mr. Sullivan was driving in the area when he observed a male physically assaulting a 19-year-old female victim. Without hesitation or regard for his own safety, Mr. Sullivan stopped his vehicle, exited, and ran toward the suspect who was assaulting the young woman. Mr. Sullivan forcibly knocked the suspect off of the victim, ending the assault and preventing further harm. Following the intervention, Mr. Sullivan then transported the victim to the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office to report the crime, facilitating immediate law enforcement action. Mr. Sullivan's decisive actions reflect the highest ideals of courage and community responsibility. He acted with no personal motive and at great risk to his personal safety, at great personal risk to protect another citizen from imminent harm. We thank you, Mr. Sullivan, and honor you with this Citizen Award of Valor for your actions. This is, like I said, I don't think I've ever had the opportunity to give this award to anybody. This is truly an outstanding thing, and of course it's a little scary, the reason that you're here.
It's a first for me too, yeah.
But well, let's hope it's a last. So would you like to say a few words?
Well, just thanks for having me, and what I did was pretty much automatic. I think did what I would expect any man to do in that situation. You know, now I was able to help, so, and I'm glad it turned out okay.
Well, you certainly did help, and you might have saved that woman's life. So this is truly an honor to have you come and be with us tonight. So let's give him a big. Stand on each side of that black strip. And I'm going to give this to you because it's heavy and I don't want to drop it. We have a certificate to go with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chief. Welcome. All right, well, we can't top that. Let's just all go home now. Okay. Next, we have Chief, I'm told we have a special presentation in the lobby. Somebody wants to come in and greet us. Would you please check the lobby and see if you can let our visitor in, please?
Oh, 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 oh. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and season's greetings to everybody in Temple Terrace. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Well, I know protocol, Mr. Mayor. My name is Santa Claus, and I live at 0000 North Pole. I was invited by your Director of Leisure Services, Mr. Carl Langfeld, Miss Corey Collins, and the Centennial Committee to come before you tonight and extend a personal greeting for all of you, as well as all of the citizens and all of the community around Temple Terrace, to one of my favorite events of the season, Winter Wonderland. Oh, it's one of my favorites. Most of you are familiar with Winter Wonderland, but if you don't know, we have a wonderful event at Woodmont Park, but it doesn't necessarily start there. One of my favorite activities is the golf cart parade. I get to come to Woodmont from the family complex with a golf cart parade in front of me. So if you live near the complex or down River Hills or the golf course, the parade starts at 6 o'clock. If you can't come to see me in the parade, please come to Woodmont at 5:30. At Woodmont, we're going to have all kind of fun. We're going to have snow slide and train rides and food trucks. I visit some food trucks in my day. Everyone can come and have a wonderful time and enjoy all the festivities. When I arrive at the park at 7 o'clock, we'll light the Christmas tree. And then I invite all of the children, young and old, to come and take a picture with Santa, and of course the beautiful Mrs. Claus, who will join me that evening. So I invite everyone to come take pictures with Santa, ride the snow slide, ride the train, and then we're going to finish the evening with a beautiful fireworks celebration to celebrate 100 years of Temple Terrace and the beauty of the season. So, with that, extending this personal invitation to you all. You know I'm very, very busy, and I must be on my way, but I do have a few goodies for the council, so I will approach the dais, and I will give you guys some goodies, and I'm sure you'll recognize at least part of what I'm handing out. So forgive me for a moment while I come up to the dais and I hand out some goodies for everyone. These are special parking passes. I don't want anyone giving me any excuses about I couldn't find parking. And you
sir.
have some very special elf-made cookies. Yes, I baked it myself.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, they're warm.
Season's greetings.
Santa.
Thank you for supporting all of our fun things that we do in the city. We appreciate you giving us some time to come and speak with you all tonight and have everybody come to Winter Wonderland. Now, there's one little fact that I didn't mention because I have you all guessing. When is Winter Wonderland? I gave you some times, but the date is this Saturday, December 6th, this Saturday at Woodmont Park. Winter Wonderland. I hope everyone comes and has a fabulous time. Thank you for your time. Merry Christmas. I know somebody who's not everyone have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. Bless you, Temple Terrace.
Yes, I think he went over 3 minutes, but I wasn't about to call out. Okay,
I want to get on the list.
very good. So our real business now is a board appointment. There's a vacancy on the Hillsborough County Maritime Law Enforcement Advisory Committee. There's one vacancy. The city received an application from one person, Grant Parra, for appointment. Is Mr. Parra here? I don't see him here. If acceptable, council members, is there a motion to approve?
Move to,
Go ahead.
move to approve Grant Parra to the Hillsborough County Maritime Law Advisory Committee for a term from December 2nd, 2025 until December 2nd, 2027.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Mr. Parra, if you're watching, thank you very much for stepping up and volunteering. Next item, council members, has everybody had an opportunity to review our minutes from November 18th? And if so, is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve. Second.
Any discussion or corrections to the minutes? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Minutes are adopted. Next are public comment. For persons wishing to be heard on items on the consent agenda or items not listed on the agenda. There are requests to address the mayor and council in the back of the chambers on that table. Please complete it and give it to the city clerk. I see we have another one coming. Council has established a 30-minute time limit for all public comments in this portion of the meeting, and it will be continued at the end of the meeting if more time is needed. Okay. There's a 3-minute time limit imposed on all individuals at this portion of the meeting. We ask that speakers come to the podium, state their name and city of residence. During public comment on items not on the agenda or items on the consent agenda, the city manager and directors in attendance do make note of these items. We do take your comments seriously and we do follow up on them. So I currently have, I think, 3. Our first one is Charles Loeb. Welcome, Mr. Loeb.
Thank you. Hope you all had a good holiday. Charles Loeb, Terrace Park. And the first thing I want to discuss is report on the library sale. We made the city made $1,361. So the library sale is going pretty good. In addition to that, they also got a big donation of books. As a matter of fact, there were so many that were left over at the Writers Club meeting that they had to sell them for $1 in that bin. So the city did get, and the publicity really does help. The other thing I want to discuss tonight is what I call my little holiday wish list, if you want to call it that, or review, or whatever you all want to call it. And that is some of the things I've been discussing. First of all, I think we should have more involvement from upper levels of government around here. Second, as I said, I'm hoping maybe that the healthcare will be, the stress will be in healthcare reform would be to make it more affordable for people who need health care, and I've discussed some of the points is on public record from last month. Also, I still see an opportunity, and it's kind of a reminder that although people temporarily have food stamps and all that, and SNAP program and all, that over the long haul, a lot of people are going to lose it because of the tougher qualifications. So, of course, this means that people will be going to the churches and things like that, and we'll still need more help than was given prior to the government shutdown. So I'm really hoping that this community will work together in order to, over the coming year, to help those folks out as much as we can. Another thing that I'm also kind of on my holiday wish list is that people will save a little bit of money, or at least understand what's going on with their electric bills. There was a very interesting article in the Beacon on the 19th of November about how you can save money and an explanation of the electric bills over, why the bills are so high and how you can save money on them. And I hope people read that. And this was like sort of a follow-up to November 16th Tampa Bay Times article or expose report So if you're interested in that, which I think people would be, that they take a look, and if they can't get the Tampa Bay Times, see if they can get the Beacon from November 19th. That's all. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Loeb. Next up, Fred Black. Welcome, Mr. Black.
It's good to see you again. We actually took a picture at a garden club event. So,
Oh, I remember that.
my name is Fred Black. I'm a business owner here in Temple Terrace, which is the city that I love. I'm also a member of the garden club, and I also maintain the grounds at Woodland Park. My issue has been, and I've been here several times on this issue regarding the bathroom being closed at the Riverside Park, and it's been closed for months, maybe going on a year. I do understand some of the issues that are having with the homeless doing certain things there, but I really think we're giving them too much power. I think this bathroom needs to be open. I'm tired of seeing families coming down with their children, having to use the bathroom at a Shell gas station. It's unacceptable. And I'm going to keep coming back until the bathroom gets open. I don't care how long it takes. You can remember my name. It will speak volume. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Troy Zimmerman.
Troy Zimmerman. I'm also a resident Temple Terrace here. I'm asking for, I guess, a waiver from the City Council on fence design. I emailed you guys a picture of the fence that I'm trying to do. It seems like it's an attractive fence. It shouldn't be a problem to approve it if you guys can look into it and check your email. And I'm not sure if you want to put it up on the screen so everyone can see it or you guys can see it, but it seems like the way that it's written is to stop chicken wire from being used as a fence. I'm not doing anything like that at all, but if you can take a look at that and get back to me whenever you guys can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman. That's currently all the requests to speak that I have. Okay. Next, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Council members, if you've had an opportunity to review the consent agenda, is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Consent agenda is adopted. Next, we have a resolution approving an engagement letter with Gray Robinson for Government Affairs Consulting Services. City Manager Bahia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The city's had a long-standing relationship with the government affairs firm, which was originally called Lewis Betts and Associates, and then became Travis Mitchell Corporation, going back at least 2 decades, from what I understand. Earlier this year, in January, Mr. Betts, the namesake of the original firm, passed away unexpectedly. And at the time, I informed council that in light of the fact we'd had this relationship for so long and the untimely passing of Mr. Betts, that we would want to go out into the marketplace and gauge whether other government firms might be available. This is not any reflection of Mr. Betts or Mr. Mitchell. They've been good partners for the city over the years. It was just because I thought it was time and it made sense in light of what had happened. So we issued a request for qualifications. Over the summer, we had 4 submittals from the Travis Mitchell Corporation. Again, Travis Mitchell was the partner for Mr. Betts. He is our current consultant, basically on a month-to-month arrangement. We also had submittals from JW Consulting, the Southern Group, and Gray Robinson. We convened a committee composed of myself, the Assistant City Manager, and the Finance Director to review the submittals from these proposers, as well as the references, and do an individual interviews, in-person interviews. And based on that evaluation, we have the following ranking that came out of that process, which was the top-rated firm was Gray Robinson, followed by the Southern Group, then Travis Mitchell Corporation, and then JW Consulting. By the way, we have a representative of Gray Robinson here, Chris Dawson. He's here in the audience if you have any questions. So the committee, looking at Gray Robinson, the reason that we ranked them as the top firm was because they had a very deep bench of associates. Our experience with Mr. Betts was pretty much it's either a 1 or 2 person firm. It has been for quite some time. We were impressed by the professionalism and, again, that vast resource base that they have at their disposal. And we also we took into consideration the fact that Gray Robinson also has a Washington, D.C. presence, which is not part of this contract, but it could be used in the future. We know, and we've talked about here at the dais and in town hall meetings last year, or earlier this year, I should say, that our water system and water infrastructure improvements are going to be critical over the next several years, and they're not going to be cheap. It's going to take a lot of dollars to make those improvements. And so the notion of having a firm that represents us to seek appropriations or grants and things like that in Tallahassee, I think is something that was very, very important to us when we looked at these different submitters. So we reached out to Gray Robinson in terms of being the top firm to negotiate, which is the process here. We indicated to Mr. Dawson that we have an approved budget right now of $2,500 a month for our lobbying firm for this current fiscal year, and we asked that if they would honor that because their proposed rate is $4,500 a month for a city our size. They graciously agreed to do that for the remainder of this fiscal year, so there would be no impact, no changes. They would accept the same budget that we've got in place through the end of September 30th, 2026. As of October 1, if council approves, they would move to their standard rate, which is $4,500 per month. At that point, what I would propose, and I've talked to Mr. Ingram about this, and it seems to make sense, in light of the fact that we are recommending Gray Robinson largely because of water, we would charge that difference to the water fund because, again, they would be looking to bring dollars home to help us pay for these water improvements. So it seems to make sense. There's a rational nexus there. So that's what we would propose to do. The contract or the engagement letter before you this evening is a 3-year engagement with 2 one-year extensions. It would also provide for a 30-day basically separating of the ways if we wanted to, if we decided or they decided that this relationship was no longer working. Within 30 days' notice, we could part ways and we could do something else, should we wish to do that. So staff is recommending approval this evening, and Mr. Dawson is here if you'd like to ask him anything.
Good. Council members, any questions?
I do.
Yes, Councilmember Fernandez.
My question has to do with lobbying for dollars to help with the water treatment, that we know we're going to have to do something, but every jurisdiction in the state of Florida that provides water is going to do something. So how does the city of Temple Terrace stand out in this?
Mr. Dawson, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening. It's an excellent question, and we know water and wastewater infrastructure is going to be one of the leading challenges of a growing state as we continue to add residents. And certainly for Temple Terrace and this region, it's really a constriction point on continued growth. It's working with all the levers that are available to us. So as we've discussed with staff, it's not just going to the legislature for appropriations. It's working with DEP to be engaged in water grant programs, the Resilient Florida Grant Program. It's working with the Department of Commerce to find where our water infrastructure is impacting economic development in the city and job creation. There are grant programs that are available there. So that's another opportunity to not only go to the legislature for funding, but to work within the state grant programs that are available to us. As the city manager mentioned, we have a deep bench. I'm excited to be the lead on the team, and this wastewater space is especially exciting to me. I have 2 degrees in civil engineering, and then I'm also an attorney with the firm. So it's a world that I grew up around. My dad's a water engineer up in the Pensacola area, and so it's just something that I've been in and around my entire life. Also on the team, we have a former DEP secretary, so we've got a deep understanding of the department and their grant programs and their regulatory programs as well that we can help bring to bear. And then on top of that, as Manager Bea mentioned, the connectivity to Washington, D.C. is another opportunity that we think, despite that this is a state lobbying contract, we are constantly working with our colleagues up in Washington to see where there's crossover, where there may be some hurricane mitigation dollars, for example, that is coming out of the federal government that could be repurposed for water and wastewater quality. So it's finding all the different levers that are available and then really putting the best foot forward. So when we're pursuing grants in Tallahassee, for example, there are certain metrics that we're going to want to include in our application. We're going to want to talk about local skin in the game. because that's been a big focus of the legislature in particular is saying, hey, we're willing to invest along with you, but we want to see local participation in these types of infrastructure programs and projects. So we'll bring that wealth of knowledge to the table. We are solutions oriented, so it's not just saying, hey, did we get an appropriation this year or not? It's saying, you know, where else can we turn over the couch cushions and find those dollars that are so precious to bring back here to Temple Terrace.
Well, and that segues into my last question, and that has to do with how will we measure the efficacy and the value of the contract?
So I think there's different elements to that. I think from a day-to-day perspective is the communication. Are we knowing what's going on in Tallahassee? I think that's one of the biggest challenges is that there's so much going on. I mean, there's hundreds of bills, particularly this upcoming legislative session, where there's so many bills also dealing with the cities and property tax issues and other issues. So I think that's an element, knowing that, okay, are you giving us the information we need so we can react appropriately here? Obviously, appropriations is you know, are we getting some dollars? Although that's a tough metric. I mean, if you look at the 20-plus year history with Louis Betts, we got the EOC, but I don't know of many other times where we receive direct dollars. It's really about making sure that the city's interests are represented up in Tallahassee so that, you know, for example, bad things don't happen, which could cost us money in the long run. Obviously, if we make appropriations a top priority, I think Mr. Dawson's heard that, not only in the interview but here, that's going to be a very big indicator for us. And that's why, in part, we're recommending this move from the current firm, which we've been very happy with, but again, they're a one-person firm, to a larger firm, because, you know, we have an expectation that we're gonna need dollars.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you. Good, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. My biggest concern is communication, okay? I've sat up here, I'm in the end of 7th year, and I've never seen Mr. Betts. I've never heard from him. Doesn't mean he hasn't spoken to the administration, but I think it's important that there's communication to this dais, to the council. I think that's important going forward. There may be questions that we had that you spur at that, so I would hope that there would be some level, quarterly, semi-annual, annual communication back directly with the council, so that we know what's going on and we can better answer questions and ask questions. So I would hope that that's part of the ultimate contract structure.
Absolutely. You have that commitment from our team that basically the frequency that works for you, particularly if it's, you know, to come speak with council, we find that quarterly tends to be kind of a sweet spot just because, number one, we're in the middle of session for several months throughout the year, and then you get into the summer months and there's not a lot of activity going on, but we hit those quarterly benchmarks, and I think that covers really all the areas that we're looking to focus on, which would be the legislative appropriation. Of course, we've got a grant cycle that's state-specific based on the state fiscal year. And then again, would love to explore opportunities with our colleagues in D.C. to better look for federal resources as well.
Good.
Any questions?
I'm good.
Mr. Dawson, thank you.
It's a pleasure, and we look forward to hitting the ground running with you all. Thank you.
There are no further questions. Is there a motion?
Move to approve resolution approving an engagement letter with Gray Robinson for Government Affairs Consulting Services.
Second.
Any discussion of the motion? I have a few comments I'd like to make. I've been with Louis Betts and Travis Mitchell for a long time, and I've been to Tallahassee, I don't even know how many times with them. Travis is a terrific guy. He's well respected. Part of the feedback to kind of fill out the answer to your question, part of the feedback is the legislators themselves. You know, how's our guy doing? I mean, is he respected or Travis is, and he knows not only the legislators at the Capitol, but he knows the staff. He's been around a long time, and sometimes knowing the staff is as important as knowing the legislators. But here in the past couple of years, I've been involved with a couple of organizations, the Suncoast League of Cities and the school district, where we have consultants at each of those. And so I'm working with them. And the product that we get from, one of them is JW Consulting that applied here, and with the school district, I'm not even sure who they use. But we get email updates. They don't come and talk to us. But we get email, like we got an email today about the the school district, that here's what's going on in committee this week, there's a schedule of committee meetings and what's on the agendas. That's important information, and we haven't had that kind of visibility of what's going on. Or, you know, I talk to, when you guys approve of our legislative priorities, I don't do it on my own, but I talk to legislators on my own, or I'll text and I'll say, hey, you know, don't forget us. But having that phone call strategically placed when it's like, hey, this guy in committee was wavered a little bit, now would be a good time to reach out and send a text and say, hey, you know, we really need your vote on that. And it's not always an appropriation, it's a home rule thing. Can we change that word from shall to will, or shall to could, or something, you know, make it a little, so it's those kinds of things too. And sometimes those are hard to quantify in terms of just, it's not just about appropriations, it's about trying to influence policy also. And sometimes even changing a word can make a bill less harmful or better for us. And so the other thing I'm excited about with this is the potential to do more federally. We haven't, I mean, other than Carlos and I mean, I know our congressional delegates, and I know our Congress, I know our senators, but, you know, them getting a call from me is not the same as somebody up there who knows where the money is in the EPA or in energy, or, you know, there's a funding stream here or there. The federal system is so big and confusing that, you know, sometimes just knowing where the resources are, and we just got our CLG approved after 50 years. So I think we have, I'm really excited about the possibility of kind of upping our game here. And it's nothing against Travis. He's a terrific guy, but it's a boutique firm. And this is the big leagues. This is, you know, this is, so I'm really excited about what we're doing here. I think it's going to be well worth the effort. And I look forward to getting to meet with you and getting to know you a little bit and getting to work. So,
I have a comment
yes,
also.
yes, sir.
Yeah, the reason for my question was I just completed a very deep choice or search, if you will, for Hart. And we had Gray Robinson, and we ended up with Holland Knight simply because they knew where the bodies are buried and so forth. But Gray Robinson did a very good presentation, and the information feedback via the reporting was critical. It is critical. And again, as you point, not just only appropriations, but just knowing what's going on and not have to see it on, you know, the 9 o'clock news and oh, we could have been involved with that or something. So that was the reason for my question. But I'm looking forward to working with them.
If there are no other comments, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Thank you, Mr. Dawson. Next item is the first public hearing and first reading of an ordinance amending sections 12-357, final plat review, and 12-354, preliminary plat review of the Land Development Code. I'll open the public hearing, and Senior Planner Alyssa Livingstone is here to explain. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I'm here to present proposed text amendments to our Land Development Code that ensures full compliance with a recent mandate from the Florida statutes, specifically Section 177.071. The overall intent of this legislative update is to streamline plat approvals. Section 177.071 of the Florida statutes now requires all municipalities to designate an administrative official to approve final plats and replats. To comply with this state mandate and streamline our development review process, we recommend designating the city manager for this administrative function. Implementing this change requires amending Section 12-357. Additionally, the city is proposing to make corresponding adjustments to Section 12354, which governs preliminary plat reviews. This action ensures the preliminary plat review process aligns with the new legislative requirements for final plat approvals, creating a cohesive development review process. Currently, in Section 12357, subsection C, after the DRC review is complete, the city engineer confirms completeness and compliance, and then the plat is sent to the city council for final sign-off. In Section 12357, subsection D, following final approval by City Council, the city engineer coordinates the recording of the plat. The updated text dictates that the plat be forwarded to the city manager for final approval instead of the City Council. This change recognizes that plat approval is primarily an administrative action and removes it from the City Council's legislative agenda. Currently, in Section 12354, subsection G, any applicant wishing to appeal a preliminary disapproval goes before the City Council. If amended, the appeal would be directed to the city manager. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Livingstone. Council member questions? Councilmember Fernandez.
So just to clarify for people watching, this proposed change is because the state of Florida has legislation that requires, it's not the city initiating something, we're responding to a requirement from the state.
Yes, we're responding to the Florida Senate Bill 784, which became effective on July 1st, 2025.
So my question, and I don't know if this is a question for city staff or even the other council members, but right now, under our process, this would come to the city council for approval, and it seems to me the plat is something that we, as a city council, we have in the past said yes or no to what the city staff has proposed, has brought in front of us. So yes, my only concern is, and it's not, maybe it's not an issue, we don't have a lot of empty buildable land, but I mean, we had a development in front of us, or a proposal in front of us not long ago, where the city council determined that the lot size proposed was below what we would like to see in the city, and we chose to change or to request that they come back with a larger lot size. Does this take away city council's ability to ultimately direct development?
Do you want to speak to the law part first?
Yeah. The answer is yes. It has taken that away from the city council. The Florida legislature has said, no, this has got to be an administrative process now. So that has been taken out of city council's hands.
But if I may, just from a practical perspective, and I remember the property you're talking about, Davis Road is probably what you're talking about, right? It's been our experience here in Temple Terrace since I've been here that most of these more significant developments will require other things. It's not just the platting issue. There's rezoning, there's typically a PD that's very common here. So I think there'll be opportunities for you to shape a lot of those developments that you may have concerns about. Can't say, I can't guarantee, because the legislature now has changed this, that it's going to be every single time. I don't think we get a lot of plats to begin with in a city our size, and we're roughly built out to begin with. Is that correct?
On average, we have about 3 to 4 plats coming before us per year, so it's not common. or frequent.
So again, this is not something that we've requested. I mean, I'll be candid with you, it's not something I really want to do, but I know what a plat is, and so it made sense to have the city manager do it because somebody had to do it in terms of administration, so.
All right, thank you.
So I know the Vice Mayor has questions, but prior to that, I neglected to solicit public comment. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Yes, sir. Mr.
If it's a building.
No, you have to come up, you have to come up.
Troy Zimmerman again. If that's a requirement, like, what's the discussion about? If that's the new requirement that it has to be administrative, like, why is the council involved at all at that point? So it should have changed till July 1st. Seems to be.
Thank you. Are there other members of the public who wish to comment? Vice Mayor Sisler.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. It seemed that cleared up most of my concerns, my questions with it. It's just another chip away at the elected officials' rules and impact on their own, effectively home rule. You know, just chipping away at what we can and can't do in our own city. I do understand it makes it a little bit easier. It does take away some of our quasi-judicial responsibilities that we can exert over the future development of our location, which is bothersome to me. But again, to everybody's point, it is being mandated by state statute, so it is something we ultimately have to comply with, but it doesn't mean we have to really like it. So I'll leave it at that.
Questions? Councilmember
Yes.
Chambers.
Can someone tell me if there is a difference between site plan and plat?
Yes, and it probably would, the clarification could probably come from our senior planner, but yes, there's definitely a difference between the two.
Okay, so the process of platting is a legal procedure used to divide a large tract of land into smaller lots, while a site plan would, essentially, you would have like a conceptual plan, which is like a rough draft, but the site plan would have all of the development features, all the engineering features as well, and, marks out for the easements and what goes up.
So in the past, we've been able to review site plans, and that will still be the case? That's all I wanted to do. Thank you.
Do a follow-up. To the original question, to the original example that was used on Davis Road, okay? How would we, as a council, exert that type of, poor word, but influence or that type of vision for what we want to see going forward? How could we do that other than the planning process, or the site? Could we, is it too late to do that at that point? I guess is my question.
I believe the plating usually comes before the site plan itself, so.
Okay, so in that particular case, they wanted to build 40-foot wide houses, but we kind of said, whoa. We want to see a minimum of 50, okay? So once that's done and the city manager signs off on it, we're stuck. We can't do anything about it going forward. Is that we live with it.
Correct. I mean, it won't be able to come to the city council. It'll be the plating decision will be, if I'm understanding your question, will be made administratively.
And then the individual, what it looks like in the end is, by that time, it's set in stone. And again, I'm not.
The lots will end up being that, but, all the detail of what's got to go on the lot would then be done by the site plan. And
Okay. We have to deal with it.
Other questions? Okay. If there are no other questions, I'll close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, amending sections 12-357 and 12-354 of the City Code of Ordinances, designating the city manager as the administrative authority for final plat review, designating the city manager as the arbiter of appeals for preliminary plat review, providing for severability, providing for correction of typographical errors, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for codification, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve on first public hearing and first reading an ordinance amending sections 12-357, final plat review, and 12-354, preliminary plat review of the Land Development Code.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion of the motion? I wished I had known about this. I wasn't tracking this bill when it happened. I don't know what the intent was. It's strange, but it's not really a rate on home rule because it's just changing it from the council to, and I don't know what the goal there was, whether it was just to speed up the process or make it cheaper or easier for people. I'm not sure what it was, but Mr. Zimmerman is right. It's a state law. There's not much choice. We don't have a whole lot of choice in this. So, any other comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. First public hearing passed. If approved, this ordinance will appear for a second reading and public hearing on Tuesday, December 16th, 2025. Thank you, Ms. Livingstone.
Thank you.
Next item is first public hearing and first reading of an ordinance amending the capital improvements section of the city's comprehensive plan. I'll open the public hearing, and Community Development Deputy Director Marissa Robinson is here to explain. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Marissa Robinson with Community Development. This is the first public reading and first public hearing to adopt the 5-year capital improvement schedule of projects for fiscal years 26 through 30 and the 10-year transportation projects for fiscal year 26 through 35. The capital improvement section schedule of projects has to be updated annually per Florida statute, and the Planning Commission is requirement. The CIS is updated by ordinance. The Planning Commission staff coordinates with the Finance Department to obtain information on the capital improvement program. The CIP program totals $39 million for fiscal years 26 through 30, ranging from various program areas. The Planning Commission then extrapolates the data from the CIP with projects affecting the level of service. They also coordinate with engineering on the 10-year transportation project plan that is included in the CIS schedule of projects. The Planning Commission found that the CIP and CIS schedule of projects is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Planning Commission approved the resolution on October 13th, 2025. Planning Commission staff will be here to present at the second public hearing and second public reading. Staff recommends City Council approves the first reading and first public hearing and schedule the second public hearing and second public reading for December 16th. Thank you, and myself and the city engineer are here for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. I do have one request to speak from Mr. Loeb.
The one thing I really wanted to talk about, I don't know if this is in the plan or even in the right place to talk about, and that would be toward putting vehicles and other things into solar power or doing the research into it. Recently, I read a book where I was telling this to the vice mayor that aboard an airplane 10 years ago was sort of a prototype that was used for solar power. Now, it's an airplane, however, it was a private airplane. But we have to begin the future at some point in some time. And a lot of things, including multi-modules and a lot of other different types of things, but certainly the buses and everything along that should be at least to a point where we could research on the idea of doing solar power as the source of powering buses in the future, along with other things that would relate to transportation. Now, that's not electric, it's different. Solar power is strictly power from the sun as opposed to as opposed to, let's say, a battery or something like that has to be electrically charged. This is what this plane was, and if an airplane, even a private plane, could have done 10 years ago, I think we're at a point where at least we could go up and say into a long-term improvement program, hey, maybe it's about time to look into doing public transit things into solar power. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Loeb. Are there other members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Okay, seeing none, council members, are there questions?
I do.
Councilmember Fernandez.
So I have a question for this particular agenda item. As part of our budget process, we create our 5-year capital improvement plan and then document where we think that we're going to pay for those projects. And they can change throughout the year because of need or funding. So is this specifically to update what we have on record with the Planning Commission? Because we've already established our budget.
I think I can address that. Save your trip. So yes, this is the Planning Commission's requirement. Every year, they just want to basically codify the multi-year plan, the out years. As you mentioned, Councilmember, the out years, they're just that, they're out years, and they can change, and in fact, they do change from every time we go through the budget. We take projects, we might move them up, we might move others out because of different needs and what the economy have changed, et cetera. So this is their requirement, that's part of their comprehensive plan, that they have to do this. So nothing has changed on our end. We're not committing to any new projects or anything like that. They're just basically taking our projects and saying, okay, we understand this is what the city of Temple Terrace is going to be doing. At least programmatically, it's anticipating to be doing.
That's it.
Other questions? Okay, if there are no further questions, I will close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, providing for the annual modification and update to the capital improvements section of the 2040 Comprehensive Plan for the City of Temple Terrace, pursuant to Chapter 163 Florida statutes, by modifying and updating the 5-year capital improvement schedule of projects for fiscal years 2025-26 through 2029-30, and incorporating the 10-year long-term improvements for the multi-model transportation district for 2026 to 2035 into the schedule of projects, which incorporates by reference per the comprehensive plan cap policy 1.5.13 Hillsborough County Transportation Planning Organizations, TPO, Transportation Improvement Program, TIP, Hillsborough Area Regional Transit Development Plan, HARTS, TDP, and Hillsborough County Public Schools Facility Work Program, providing for severability, providing for correction of typographical errors, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for codification, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. You need some water? Good. Okay, if acceptable, is there a motion to approve?
Yes, move to approve on first public hearing and first reading of an ordinance amending the capital improvements section of the city's comprehensive plan.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion of the motion. One real brief comment, and this is nobody's fault. This is like the previous thing where we just have to do what we have to do. But I have always, as long as I've been at this, I do not understand the planning commission structure here. I do not understand why the city of Temple Terrace has to change our rules and then go ask the planning commission for permission to change our rules when it's I mean, if we want to change the fence ordinance, we have to go to the planning commission to ask for permission to do that. If we want to update the 5-year capital plan, we've got to go every year to the planning commission, who has members appointed by us. I just don't understand the whole system, and there's no dig on the planning commission. I have good friends over there, but I don't get it. This is like government bureaucracy run amok. And so, okay, I'm done now. So, any other comments on the motion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Ordinance is adopted on first reading and will appear for a second reading and public hearing on Tuesday, December the 16th. Next, we have a first reading of an ordinance creating short-term rental requirements. This is a long-awaited development here, and our Code Compliance Director, Jack Shanks, is here to present. Good evening.
Evening, Mayor, Council members. Jack Shanks, Code Compliance. Tonight, I'm presenting an ordinance that establishes a regulatory framework for managing short-term rentals within the city of Temple Terrace. As you know, short-term rentals have become increasingly common in residential neighborhoods across Florida. This ordinance is designed to help the city manage that growth responsibly, balancing private property rights and state preemption with our duty to protect the health, safety, and welfare of our residents. Our overall goal is simple: ensure that short-term rentals operate safely, fit appropriately within our neighborhoods, and contribute positively to the community. Short-term rentals, often hosted through platforms like Airbnb or VRBO, have created new challenges for cities across the state. Before 2011, Florida cities had the ability to regulate short-term rentals under home rule authority. That changed when the legislature passed House Bill 883, which preempted local control. In 2014, the legislature restored some local authority through Senate Bill 356, allowing cities like ours to regulate short-term rentals for health, safety, and welfare, but not prohibit them outright or limit how often they can be rented. Based on data provided to us by short-term rental compliance software providers like Granicus and Decker Technologies, we can estimate that our current number of short-term rentals within Temple Terrace is approximately 150. While many of these are well-managed, others have generated issues. We've addressed complaints at short-term rental properties involving multiple vehicles parked in yards and blocking the right-of-way, trash not being disposed of properly and left to become a nuisance, and reports of excessive noise and occupancy levels. Without consistent standards, it becomes difficult for staff and residents to address those impacts fairly and effectively. This ordinance provides a balanced and legally sound way to address those concerns while respecting state law. To create this ordinance, multiple jurisdictions were researched to determine the most appropriate guidelines for creating our own. Pinellas County, the city of Bradenton, Daytona Beach, and Anna Maria, amongst others, were reviewed. It was shown that some cities received challenge from the short-term rental operators who viewed their ordinances as over-regulatory or discriminatory. In those cases, issues were either settled or the ordinance was revisited. Pinellas County's ordinance was created with those challenges in mind and is fair and beneficial to their residents and short-term rental operators alike. I did meet with my counterpart in Pinellas County Code Enforcement to talk through the wins and challenges they faced, and those notes were instrumental in the creation of our ordinance. The proposed Temple Terrace short-term rental ordinance uses Pinellas County as a base, but is adjusted to encompass the unique needs of our city. The public purpose of this ordinance is to serve the health, safety, and general welfare of our community. It does that by requiring all short-term rentals to meet basic life and safety standards under the Florida Building Code and Fire Prevention Code, preserving the quiet character and property values of established neighborhoods, promoting accountability among owners and operators, and ensuring fair treatment of both the short-term rental owner and our residents. Ultimately, this is about ensuring that everyone, residents, visitors, and property owners, can coexist safely and respectfully. This ordinance creates a clear and structured system for short-term rentals in the city. First, it establishes a certificate of use program. All short-term rentals must apply for and maintain a certificate of use, which is valid for 1 year. Before the initial certificate is issued, the fire department will inspect the property to confirm it meets minimum life safety requirements. That inspection will be repeated every 2 years thereafter. Second, it establishes a registration fee of $200 per property per year. That fee helps offset the administrative and inspection costs associated with the program. It says operational standards. Maximum occupancy is limited to 2 persons per bedroom plus 2 additional occupants. In a review of other local ordinances, including Sarasota, Pinellas County, and Orlando, this occupancy level is standard. All parking must be off-street. No lawn or grass parking is permitted. In conjunction with Temple Terrace Code Section 16-7, quiet hours are set between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. Each property must have a local responsible party available 24 hours a day to respond to emergencies, inspections, or complaints. Basic safety and contact information must be posted inside the unit in a conspicuous place near the main entry door. It includes advertising requirements. Any advertisement must include the property's license and certificate numbers, the maximum occupancy, and parking limits. That way, guests and neighbors have clear expectations before booking occurs. Finally, it establishes enforcement provisions. Violations are handled under Chapter 1, Article 2 of the City Code using the standard Code Enforcement Board process. The emphasis is on achieving compliance and not punishment. I'd like to take a moment to highlight how this proposed short-term rental ordinance is not only protective of our neighborhoods, but also fair and beneficial to responsible short-term rental owners. First, the ordinance legitimizes and protects the right to operate short-term rentals within our city. It doesn't ban or over-restrict them. Instead, it creates a structured certificate of use program that allows owners to operate confidently within clear local standards. By aligning with state law, we ensure that owners retain their property rights while the city retains reasonable oversight to protect the community. Second, it protects owners from liability by requiring those safety inspections. These inspections confirm that each short-term rental meets minimum life and safety requirements under the Florida Building Code and the Florida Fire Prevention Code. This isn't just about compliance, it's about reducing risk for the owner and ensuring they're operating a safe property that meets legal standards. The ordinance levels the playing field. Every short-term rental operator must follow the same rules, meet the same standards, and hold the same certificate of use. This prevents unregulated operators from undercutting compliant ones and creates a fair, competitive marketplace for everyone who plays by the rules. The ordinance offers a streamlined and transparent process for the owners. That certificate of use is valid for 1 full year and renewals are straightforward. If property changes ownership, there's a clear and predictable 30-day window for the new owner to reapply. And that way there's no confusion or sudden interruption in operations. The ordinance provides clarity and predictability. Owners know exactly what's required, how to meet parking, occupancy, advertising, and safety standards. That transparency reduces disputes and helps everyone stay on the same page. It's designed to be fair, measurable, and easy to follow, not punitive or confusing. The framework encourages cooperation between the city and rental owners. Each rental must designate a responsible party, someone the city can contact directly to resolve issues quickly and responsibly. This builds accountability while also showing again that the city's goal is compliance and not punishment. We're aiming to work with the owners, not against them. And finally, this ordinance professionalizes the short-term rental industry within Temple Terrace. It requires proper business licensing through the state, collection and remittance of required taxes, and truthful advertising that includes occupancy and parking limits. That approach establishes short-term rentals as legitimate, well-managed component of our local economy. The annual registration fee of $200 per property will cover the cost of inspection, administration, and enforcement, reducing the financial impact on the city's general fund. For property owners and operators, the cost is minimal compared to the average rental income for the short-term stays. Overall, the ordinance is expected to have a neutral to modestly positive economic impact, and it provides predictability for owners and operators while improving safety and neighborhood compatibility. For the community, it strengthens public confidence in how these properties are managed, creating a safer, more orderly environment for everyone. In conclusion, this ordinance provides a practical and balanced approach to managing short-term rentals in Temple Terrace. It respects property rights, enhances neighborhood quality, and ensures that all rental properties operate safely and responsibly. Should this ordinance be approved, we will be fully enforcing it no later than July 1st, 2026. That gives us the time we need to secure the most appropriate software, train staff, and identify and provide notice to all short-term rental owners. Staff respectfully recommends that the City Council approve this ordinance on first reading. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Shank. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this? Seeing none, council member questions? Yes, Vice Mayor Schistler.
I have several. So, first of all, regarding the annual fee, will this be in addition to the $200 rental that is already paid? So we total of $400 then?
No, sir. They're completely separate programs.
I was wondering if it's still going to be, it's still a city fee. So instead of $200, it's going to be $400 now for this particular one?
They're not paying the current $200.
No, sir. They are not regulated. Short-term rentals operate completely separate from the rental program.
Okay, good. All right, cool. That answers that question. What about the short-term rentals that are essentially rooming houses? Okay, the owner rents out this room and that room and this, or they're totally unrelated people. How is this going to impact that?
So that's where Florida statute comes in. Florida statute dictates what a rental is, but it also dictates more importantly for us, what a short-term rental is, which is less than 30 days, more than 3 times per year. It does not allow us to quantify how many people are living inside. What we can do, however, when it comes to zoning, we have multifamily homes, we have single-family homes. Multifamily homes cannot be in single-family zone districts. So when we go to inspect, that's one of the things we're going to be looking for is this home a multifamily home? Was it converted to a multifamily home? If that's the case, they will not be issued a certificate of use until the home is restored to the proper zone. So going back to your question about the people that are in there, we can't dictate whether or not somebody can rent a property or rent a room. What we can do is make sure they're licensed properly through the state and hold them accountable for the certificate of use.
What if they're both? I have it. It's a case in point, 2 houses down from me. When the owner is in town, he rents the rooms out. When he's out of town, it's a VRBO or an Airbnb, and he rents it to one group. How does this impact that, or what can we do with that?
He will fall under the same certificate of use. So when he applies, the application will have the number of bedrooms. It'll have the type of home, whether single-family, multifamily, whatever that may be, mobile home. When he applies, it's going to be followed up by that inspection. We won't be able to dictate, per se, how many people are living on the property, except for the fact that our ordinance states 2 persons per bedroom plus 2 additional occupants. What we're looking at in regular rental homes are the occupancy levels of 3 unrelated people. That's not going to apply to these short-term rentals.
So what do I tell my neighbors when they wonder, well, how can this be allowed? That's a separate issue.
Yes,
It doesn't necessarily deal with this ordinance. Then last but not least, enforcement of the parking on the street or the off-street parking. It would have to be brought before code enforcement. That takes 30 days to be noted. Those people are gone by then. So you have weeks on end of 5, 6 cars on the street, and they're all staying at this one house. How do we deal? What's our options with that?
In this case, it's going to go directly to the property owner. So the property owner will be cited. He will have the violation, which will go in front of the MCB. I've spoken to our police. They're on board with working with us. They will have the same list that we have of the responsible parties. So if we get a complaint, number one, it's going to go through our program. It'll also go to the police on the weekends, holidays, things like that, and evenings. They will then approach, they will let us know, we will then pursue the property owner for the violations. We also have direct access to report them to the hosting sites, if need be, if it gets to that point. So we have different levels of accountability.
Please don't misinterpret my terseness and my questions to what you guys are doing and what we're trying to do. It's just overall, it's a problem. It's a serious problem.
Absolutely.
So
This ordinance gives us a little bit more teeth.
it does. It does. Thank you.
Other questions, Councilmember Chambers?
To follow up on the whole house rental thing. So if you have a property in our city that's owned by a corporation or another person and they rent it year-round, college students at USF or whatever, that's part of our rental program now, correct?
Anything more than 30 days, yes, sir.
Okay, that's the cutoff. So this will fill in that gap so we have control over a whole house rental for short-term for like a Bucks game or Lightning game or something.
Correct.
That's all I want to know. Thank you.
Councilmember Fernandez.
So I have a question for you about parking enforcement. When I go to cities that have let's say St. Augustine, very tight parking, you stay in a VRBO or Airbnb, and it's very strictly told to you by the property owner manager where you can park. But those cities, those owners, or managers, they've clearly had there's some sort of mechanism that they strictly enforce those parameters at the time when you rent it. Do we know what they do in order to have the property owner / manager be on board with the strict enforcement of where people can park, the noise ordinances, and some of the other factors that could make a short-term rental unpleasant to a neighborhood.
Absolutely. One of the things this ordinance does, it creates a situation where the advertising will have to display that. Currently, if you look at some of the Airbnbs or VRBOs or short-term rentals in our area, it says that they can host up to 15 people, when this is a 3-bedroom home. This is going to restrict that, so it's going to be truth in advertising. We're going to see that. That's part of the program, is we're going to have visual opportunities to see this on a daily basis. Part of the application is also the parking requirements. There has to be a sketch as part of that. Basically, the cars have to fit in the driveway. If the cars do not fit in the driveway, regardless of whether street parking is allowed or not, that will exceed the capacity for the parking. Now, let's say it's in a neighborhood where only 2 cars can fit in that driveway, but you go by the house and parking's allowed on the road and there's a car parked in the street. That's not a violation. The only thing that we're looking at for that is to make sure that the parking fits in the driveway. That way there's not overcrowding on the street. Currently, we have one that we're working on where there are double lines going around the corner. The Airbnb sits on the corner. The people from the home, there's multiple cars parked there all the time. They park on that road, so it blocks the double yellow line, which means the police get called, we get called. That's because there's no control right now over how many cars can park in the driveway. So again, this gives us a little bit more control over that. Also, inside the home, there's going to be a placard that explains all of these things. How many cars can park there, what the occupancy levels are, who to contact. So the information that's being put out there is going to be much more than it is right now. Because right now, it's just what's available on the website that they're renting through.
Okay, so I just to clarify, right now, if I go to a property in St. Augustine or Savannah, Georgia, or Pinellas County, where there's very little parking and it's very strictly enforced, what kind of enforcement mechanism do we have to follow up on basically the code enforcement aspect? Right now, if you are a property owner and you're consistently violating like parking on the lawn or something, there's a process and it takes a time period before it comes in front of code enforcement, before there's before it's addressed. And in this case, you've got somebody in town for the weekend for the USF game, and then they're gone, and that particular situation is gone until the next weekend, and then it's back, and it's intermittent. How are we able to enforce the things that we're looking to put in place to make those short-term rentals more compatible with the residential aspects of the neighborhoods that they're in?
I understand. So right now, as it says right now this minute, if I go out there and I see a car parked in the grass and I know it's a short-term rental, I can go ahead and tell the homeowner, hey, here's a warning, here's a notice of violation, even a notice of hearing. Within a few days, maybe even that same day, that it'll be corrected and now they're in compliance, right? This ordinance says you park on the grass, you park somewhere you're not supposed to, this property is now not in compliance. You're going to get the NOV, you're going to get the notice of hearing, you're going to come in front of the board. There's not a notice of compliance because it's happened and is violating this ordinance that we're creating. Right now, there's not an ordinance that does that. The parking, yes, but it's a one and done. You park, you move it, you're now in compliance. This gives us the authorization to really hold that property owner accountable. Now, we don't see that too often. We have our ones and twos that are really kind of pushing the envelope with that. So by and large, I believe that most rental operators are going to be in compliance and they're not going to have any issues with this.
Thank you.
Other questions, council members? No? Thank you, Mr. Shanks. If there are no further questions, I will ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Council of Temple Terrace, Florida, creating Division 3 of Article 4, Chapter 8 of the Temple Terrace Code of Ordinances, entitled Short-Term Rentals, providing definitions, establishing a certificate of use program for short-term rental properties, providing for inspections of short-term rental properties to ensure consistency with the Florida Building Code and Florida Fire Prevention Code, providing for short-term rental property advertising requirements, providing provisions for the regulation of occupancy of short-term rental properties, providing parking regulations for short-term rental properties, providing for penalties for the non-compliance, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in Chapter 8 of the Code of Ordinances, which governs buildings and fire prevention, providing for scrivener's errors, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Council members, is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve on first reading, the ordinance creating a short-term rental requirements.
Second.
Second. Any comments on the motion?
I have a comment.
Yes, Vice Mayor.
I'm in favor of this. You guys have done a great, this is hard. I'm sure this has been very difficult to put together. One thing I'd like to see for the second reading, if at all possible, is expand more, if we could, on the parking issue. How's the Code Enforcement Board going to deal with this? Are they going to have, we'll make sure they don't have the mindset, well, okay, well, they were there, now they're not there, now they're in compliance, we wash our hands of the whole thing. That comment that you made really, really rang home with me, because what you violated, you violated. So I'd like to see to know more on how that's going to work, as far as, again, not trying to be punitive, but just let that owner know that your people can't do that. Because I guarantee you, there's 3 cars parked on my street right now that are in that house. So anyway, but I'm in favor of this, and I'm glad you guys are putting this down. It's good work. Thank you.
So just to clarify, make sure I heard it correctly, are you requesting changes be made before the second reading?
I'm not asking for any changes, just when you come back for there's no need to change what we got.
Okay.
It's just a commentary as to how this could work.
Okay, I just wondered if
No, we don't want to tie their hands and say, okay, and then Code Enforcement says, well, wait a minute,
Okay.
what can we do about it? That's all.
Councilmember Chamberlain?
No discussion, but comments. So thank you, all the staff, city attorney, everybody that's been involved with this. For years, it's been a goal, at least of mine, and I know of this council, to look after the life safety of the occupants of these short-term rentals. Now we have this approved on second reading, they'll have something in place to ensure that the carbon monoxide systems are working, smoke detectors and all that. That's been a big concern of mine for a long time. And again, this council, I know a couple goal-setting sessions. So thank you. And also, thank you for researching this with other municipalities and entities that have stood up to the courts with them. Thank you.
Okay. I have one brief comment, and first of all, thank you to Mr. Mueller, Mr. Shanks. This is a wonderful, I read this probably 5 times yesterday. I had you on the phone for an hour asking questions. Terrific job. And so this has been a goal of the council. I mean, I've been on the council since 2016, and you guys were talking about it before I got here. So people ask, well, what changed, right? Did you guys just have an epiphany and all of a sudden decide that you could do an ordinance when all these years you've said you couldn't? I just want everybody to understand there have been some changes. And that is that since 2011, cities have tried to regulate short-term rentals and wound up in court and lost, right? And so now there is a body of court cases where you can go in and discern what exactly in their ordinances did the courts find what the problem was. And so these other jurisdictions, primarily Pinellas County, did that work. They went through and said, okay, this court held that this part was invalid, this one was invalid, this part was invalid. And so Pinellas County was able to create an ordinance that didn't conflict with any of those court cases. And we have modeled this primarily on Pinellas County. And so this isn't like we had an epiphany this year or last year, or this has been something that's been worked on since 2011 by different councils. And so what's changed is we now have more basis in court cases to know what to avoid. And so for the public who's been around for a while watching this, I don't want them to think, all these years you couldn't do anything and all of a sudden you can do something. Well, yes, because things did change. And the other thing that this is going to be a huge benefit, particularly in Pleasant Terrace, because of the football stadium that's going up there. I personally know of homes that have sold in that neighborhood for the explicit reason of having, using them for football games and short-term rentals in between the football games. And so this is going to be a big benefit in that. And so thank you all for your work on that. I'm sure it's probably not perfect, but it looks pretty good to me. So I'm very pleased with your work. Thank you.
Excellent start.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Ordinance is adopted on first reading and will appear for a second reading and public hearing on Tuesday, December 16th, 2025. Next, we move on to new business and board reports, and I know Councilmember Chambers has some new business.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilmember Fernandez. This is a time of year that sometimes this council will grant Christmas Eve day off to our city employees. This year, though, Christmas falls on a Thursday, and it seems like it might be appropriate to, if we want to go that route, give the employees Friday, December 26th off. That I think the city manager has discussed this with his department heads and developed a plan. So that will be my motion, that we give city employees Friday, December 26th off as a city holiday.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion?
Excellent.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you. Please pass that on to your employees. When I look out here, when I walk around this place, I see the best employees anywhere. So thank you for everything you do.
Glad.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Who's going to vote against that? Okay. All right, motion is adopted. Any other new business or board reports?
I just.
Yes, Vice Mayor.
And quite possibly, Mr. Bay is going to talk about this, the fence, fence issue was brought up earlier. Had you planned on discussing that, or can you address that in your report, or? Again, just because I got no emails on it. I'm flying blind on the whole thing. I did not get an email on this issue. So I was just curious as to if you have.
Oh, Mr. Zimmerman is.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I know that Mr. Zimmerman has been talking to community development, and they've had a difference in terms of the materials and the selection. I don't have anything prepared for you right now.
Okay.
I can have it for the next meeting.
Okay, that'll be fine. That's good. Thank you. That's all I had.
Other new business or board reports? Okay. City Manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. At your August 19th meeting, City Council entertained several proposals for possible acquisition of the city's property, 8901 North 56th Street. The proposal that was acceptable to council that evening was from the Courtside Group LLC for it was called a Blazing Paddle Sports Hub proposal. This was for a recreational facility with pickleball courts and a food and beverage component. Council that evening directed the staff to retain outside legal counsel and conduct an analysis of the Blazing Paddles proposal because there were some questions that were raised here at council concerning the financial wherewithal of this particular submittal. Staff went ahead and we retained the services of our outside legal counsel. It happened to be the Gray Robinson Law Firm. In this effort, Gray Robinson went ahead and did a title review, which is in your backup. So there's an ALTA commitment letter there that talks about and clarifies any title issues. We also, at the recommendation of the outside legal counsel, we retained the services of Fishkind Consulting and its president, Hank Fishkind. This is a business consultancy that does, as one of its services, it does reviews of proposals like this to deem, again, how strong a company might be, et cetera. So Mr. Fishkind reviewed the company's information, reviewed the financials that were submitted to the city, as well as met with the principals and interviewed the principals. And I believe the principals are here this evening. They're nodding, so yeah, they're here. And Mr. Fishkind provided a report based on that interaction and that review that indicated basically three conclusions. He recommended that the Courtside Group provide a firm financial commitment for the proposed SBA loan. Number two, that they demonstrate that they have raised the equity capital of 1.8 million as included in their financing plan. And then number three, that they increase their equity investment to bring their working capital up to $1 million. Mr. Fishkind noted that he recommended this in part because of the perceived lack of operational experience for this kind of a business venture. Although the courtside group has experience in business, not necessarily in running this type of business, so that was a concern he had. We provided the courtside group with an opportunity to respond to Mr. Fishkind's report, and they submitted their response, which is also in your backup. And I'm going to summarize here, and they can correct me if I miss something. They asserted primarily that with lower borrowing costs, the SBA interest rate has dropped 75 basis points since the time they started this. And they also have a very conservative construction budget. They're looking at a range, I think 4.7 million, if memory serves, is on the high end of the range, and that's the number they went with from their general contractor. So they went with the most sort of safeguarded numbers, if you will, for construction. They felt that at least those two factors alone would help them with some flexibility to withstand, again, the opening and the management over the first several months to a year or so. That were the primary concern that was raised by Mr. Fishkind. We took that response and we provided it to Mr. Fishkind just to verify, ask him, as he represents the city here. He reviewed it, again, it's on your backup, and Mr. Fishkind did not feel that it satisfied his primary concerns. Again, working capital was the one that he cited as being the biggest worry, I guess, he had as far as their viability. So that was part of this. The other part of this endeavor, this due diligence, was also at the recommendation of Gray Robinson. If you'll recall, counsel, the offer from the courtside group was not for the $2 million asking price the city has on the property. It was for $1.4 million. So our law firm recommended that we secure an appraisal to determine what is the value of this property today. So we retain the services of Blue Mark Valuation Advisors. And when an appraiser looks at property, they're going to look at a variety of factors, right? They're going to look at comps, listed comps, closed comps. In this case, they also paid particular attention to the fact that this property is not a typical sale, right? As you can tell, it's been months, so we're still dealing with it, right? If this were a typical sale, probably would have closed already. This is not a typical arm's length transaction. There are certain bureaucratic or governmental hurdles that need to be overcome for this to happen. So as you know, there's a statutory requirement, for example, for us to offer property for sale for 30 days, right, where people can submit proposals. That's where this proposal came from. In addition, as part of that, the proposers have to submit certain financials, letters of interest. They have to do some due diligence. On top of that, let's say they get beyond that CRA recommendation, and they got to go to the city council. And then after that, depending on what you do, they may have to do other things like we were experiencing here today. So in addition to that, let's say they got to the point where they closed on the property, there's still CRA requirements. There's no relay district, so you can't just develop this as you would develop, for example, on Fowler Avenue. Here we have certain requirements. You have to build to the sidewalk. You have to do a certain architectural style, etc. Those are all positive requirements, and I'm not suggesting that we change those. But all of that combined, all those factors combined, create an impact on the value, because it's somebody could say I'll pay you $2 million, but I'll pay you $2 million if you're not gonna, if I can just do what I want to do. That's not necessarily the case here. So he felt that dampened some of the value. He also noted that this property has been on the market now for well over 2 years at $2 million, again without a successful purchase. And then finally he noted that, ironically enough, at that same August meeting, there was a proposal for $1.8 million from a low-income senior housing developer. And the city council, rightfully so, rejected that proposal because, if you recall, the developer suggested or implied that they were going to apply for the live local tax exemption, which would have wiped out all future tax revenue for that project. So it wouldn't have made sense in the long term for this community. And that was the reason it was rejected largely, I believe. But from the appraiser's perspective, the city turned down $1.8 million. So that all played into this as well. And I'm sure there are other factors. So based on all of that, the appraisal came in at $1.445 million. So that's the number today. That's a public record, and that's what the appraisal is. So this evening, what I would ask of council is, there's a couple of decision points here, and there's probably variants that you'll kind of get to. Which is, first, do you want to pursue the Blazing Paddles proposal any further? Note that if you do, that's fine. If you want us to move forward towards a purchase and sale based on their terms, we can do that. And there's a cost to do that, but we can do that if that's truly what you want to do. If you alternatively, or maybe not alternatively, but concurrently actually, do you want to address the price of the property? Knowing that the appraisal came in at 1.445, it's a public record, as I mentioned, do you want to bring the price down to that number or another number? Because again, even if you move forward with Blazing Paddles, at least until the point we have a signed P&S approved by the council, I would still recommend that we continue to keep marketing the property. And whether you want to market it at the new price or not, or a new price, is up to you. So those are the decision points that we're looking for some direction on this evening. And we have, by the way, I'm sorry, excuse me, Mr. Mayor, in addition to the gentleman from Courtside Group, we have our broker, John Lochner, is also here in the audience. And we obviously have our staff here if you have questions of them.
So, yeah, I'm going to call them up in a second, but in your opinion, there's two decision points here that are related but also separate. Would it make more sense to talk about the price of the property before we get into the kind of turn this around? Would it make more sense to do that discussion first?
Sure. Yeah, because you can, like I said, that can happen concurrently. It's not mutually exclusive price issue.
Okay. Well, I do think we owe it to Courtside to hear what they have to say. So if you gentlemen would like, you don't have to, but if you'd like to come up, you're welcome.
I have some questions too.
Good evening. Thanks for being patient with us tonight.
Of course. Thank you for having us. It's
Welcome
good to be
back.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're happy to entertain and answer any questions that you have, but reviewing Fishkind's report and having the opportunity to meet with him, the takeaways for us really were that he emphatically kind of put a stamp of approval on our business plan, our assumptions, our pricing. The biggest call out that he really had was our operating experience and needing the $1 million in working capital going into opening our business. And so what we kind of presented to him, one was a number of factors. The SBA loan term that we would have, I believe, 18 months before any debt would need to be repaid. It's kind of built in a way that gives us grace as we're opening our program. And the budget, as the city manager highlighted, is we did assume the $4.7 million, which is the highest end of the range from our general contractor. And then the SBA has its own 10% additional kind of grace on top of that. That's baked into the SBA loan, so that's $460,000. So the budget that we shared with him included that, but it also included several expenses before we were to open, with full-time labor, part-time labor for training. I believe about $10,000 to $15,000 in marketing spend to really, announce ourselves. So there's a lot of expenses that were kind of baked in for both a worst-case scenario, but also being fully prepared to open our business. And so when, if you dig into Hank Fishkind's report, he highlights that we only have $270,000 in working capital when we open. Our assumptions and our forecast is much closer to the $1 million that he's requesting. And then we also did have conversations with Mr. Fishkind about future equity rounds if we needed to. So we have the opportunity, just like any startup would have, to have a Series A, a Series B, and if push came to shove and we had to raise additional capital, we'd be willing to give more equity to do so. But the assumptions and the forecast that we have, we feel really confident in. And again, the biggest takeaway for us was that he was super excited about the financial model, the business plan, the assumptions that we made. And one last point to highlight is that I think his assessment was that it would bring more than $3 million in economic value to the city of Temple Terrace. That's something that we hope that we can bring to life. But I don't know, Steve, if you want to add anything to that, or
no, I think Jed actually covered it very well. At least what our perspective. We were unaware, to be fair, that Dr. Fishkind had actually responded again with a response back to that report. Had we had that information, I think we could have come prepared. As Jed said, really the equity that we're raising, we're raising for this project right now is a friend and family's round. We have plenty of room to raise additional capital if necessary to get to the $1 million Dr. Fishkind is looking for. We think our model right now, again, it was sort of built on a doomsday scenario. If everything were to go wrong, how much working capital would we actually have? We think we're much closer to the $700,000 to $800,000 range as we sit right now. And we're happy to address any concerns that the council may have.
Thank you. Before I forget, though, could you please state your names for the record for the city clerk?
Jedward Eric, resident of Tampa.
Thank you.
And Stephen Daniluk.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, you said you had questions?
Yes,
Vice Mayor.
Thank you for working with this and working with the, with Dr. Fishkind. It's very important that we do this right. So my big question is, and given the entrepreneurial aspect and interest that you're putting forth with this, which I like, and I've been involved with that most of my career in accounting before I retired. My question, though, is, does the SBA covenants that you have, or at least you're working with, permit the reclassification of any of these overages and estimates? Like, you say 4.7 is your upward construction. If it comes in at 4.5, whatever, be the number. Does the covenants allow you to reclassify those differences, keep the SBO and reclassify that into working capital?
Yes.
Okay. Are you guys committed to doing that as we go forward to help ensure that we do have that $1 million working? Not trying to tell you how to run the business, but we also don't want an empty building there in 3 months.
No, absolutely.
Okay, so I mean, it would go a long ways if you could verify that the SBA covenants and documents would allow that, and let you keep and use the money for the working capital requirements, and give us a commitment that you're willing to do that and go forward with that. And if we come out $905,000, you'll find that extra equity to get us to the $1 million, so that everybody hears the comfort level that you're going to be, you do everything that you can to be successful. The only way we can do that is to make sure that you're established and set up properly.
Of course, absolutely.
Councilmember Fernandez?
I have a few questions.
Okay.
So I was a financial auditor with KPMG and worked on several real estate REITs. And one of the things that I saw is that a lot of businesses started and went out. In fact, in a very high number of the properties that were owned and rented, I would say 90% of them turned over. I know from auditing restaurants and other small businesses that restaurants have an extremely low profit margin, a very high employee theft margin, and it's extremely difficult for operators with zero restaurant experience to stay solvent. So the concerns I have, the number one reason that small businesses go out of business is they are undercapitalized. Their working capital is not sufficient to see them through until the business actually starts making a profit. The other problem is when you are not an experienced restaurant operator, that is a huge stair to climb. And I know that this topic comes up very often in the city of Temple Terrace. We have a lot of chain restaurants. We have a lot of, almost a high percentage of our small restaurants go out of business. And the reason is because chains train you, they give you a model, they give you a book, they pick the location, they do everything to help make it successful. So my two concerns are, I do believe you're undercapitalized in your working capital. And I do believe that not having any experience in the restaurant industry is a very high hurdle to summit. I like the concept, but I don't know how can you provide So I do not want to be in a situation where we approve this and 6 months later, we have an empty building, but you all own the property and it's an eyesore. It's been an eyesore for a number of years. So I guess how can you help alleviate concerns that from being undercapitalized and not having restaurant operator experience?
Yeah, so Dr. Fishkind, or Mr. Fishkind, did mention that we do have advisors with significant restaurant experience. I think we mentioned that in the August meeting as well. But within the budget that we provided in the financial model, we do have several full-time roles, both for a bar manager, for a head chef, for really to bring in expertise for folks that are going to be in there, 40 hours a week plus, to make sure that we're successful. We know that we can't do it alone, and we're also not trying to build a business model or a financial model that's going to be solely reliant on minimum wage employees. So I think that's probably two of the most critical hires that we would have are folks that have the experience that can work in day to day with us, in addition to the advisors that we currently have on staff. And then on the financial, the working capital component, the $270K that we provided as working capital for the day that we open. On top of that, there is the $460K construction contingency, which I totally understand and respect Dr. Fishkind saying that you can't use that because it might go towards construction. But there's significant pre-open revenue opportunities that we have to both build our brand and marketing, but also to drive revenue with pop-up tournaments that I think, again, we mentioned before, but also to pre-sell to corporations in the area. If we're able to open, around the holidays next year, or whatever the timing really is, we could reach out to corporations here in the local area to hopefully pre-sell events and pre-sell team building opportunities. So we have that in a number of areas to drive revenue that wasn't accounted for in the model that we shared with Dr. Fishkind.
If I can actually add to it, I think, our revenue model is very diverse for a reason. I'm looking into business, as an entrepreneur, if I were to talk to anybody, they would say the restaurant business alone is one of the hardest businesses to get into, right? And I recognize that. When Jed and I were first thinking through this idea, we wanted to optimize what is going to be a draw to a community. A food component is definitely a draw to a community. A bar aspect is a draw to a community. We talked about the concert series. We talked about our subscription-based model. We talked about corporate events. We're not solely dependent on the restaurant side of things, but we will, and both recognize that that will be a key hire for us in that role. What we also have discussed, because before we had ever decided on Temple Terrace, I didn't want to have a restaurant aspect of it for the exact reasons that you actually brought up. But we're not opposed to, in this model, when we have a build out of a kitchen, and actually partnering with someone. If we are starting with a restaurant aspect of this business that, as operators, is too much for us, where we can handle all the other aspects, I think it's very easy for us to partner with someone and have them be the food provider of Blazing Paddles. Part of being in business is learning and knowing when to adapt. I have to do it in my career all the time. What worked for you yesterday is not necessarily going to work for you today. And so we want to ensure that we have safeguards in place. And we're putting significant financial capital of our own at risk here. I wouldn't enter into anything blind if I didn't fully believe in this idea.
So out of curiosity, what is the duration that you would expect that working capital to support the business prior to actually, are you expecting to need that for 6 months? Are you expecting to be turn a profit in 10 months? What's the plan?
Yeah, I think that might have been included in our response, but I think it was around 6 to 8 months if we assume $0 of revenue coming in from the day that we open. Obviously, you would control some of your expenses. You're not spending on part-time labor if you have no revenue coming in. But both with the SBA loan being delayed for 18 months from the moment that we go into terms with the bank, but also the working capital that we would have would hold at least 6 to 8 months. And this was also, again, expressed to Dr. Fishkind that We are trying to, limit the equity stake that we're giving up in the investor round that we have currently, but we are more than willing, as we get closer, and we say, you know what, we did come in at 4.7 million with the general contractor, and we did use the 460K contingency. We do have to raise capital at this point, and giving up an additional equity stake for our business is something that we would absolutely explore. It's just not a lever we need to pull right now.
Okay, so would you consider, or have you considered, instead of building out the kitchen aspect of it, inviting food trucks, for example, and that would completely reduce your investment required up front?
We did, and that was part of the initial model, and something that could still be entertained as part of like a backup plan, if you will. But one of the biggest components for the business as a whole is the liquor license, and they are incredibly hard to come by in the second-hand market, costing anywhere from $200,000 to $300,000 or $400,000. But if you have a mixed-use property where more than 51% of your revenue is coming from non-alcohol, then you can get it for, I believe, $1,800 a year. And so that's a key component for our business, is to have the food revenue in-house, which is why we eventually made the decision to have all components of it in-house. But if we were to fail, we're not going to let Blazing Paddles fail. We would explore food trucks and working with local vendors in the area. We're going to do whatever it takes to be successful here.
Are there any facilities right now that are pickleball? Sorry, I'm not a player. I know people love it though. But so are there any pickleball facilities? I know your model might be a little bit different than what's in the area, but do you have other facilities that you've looked at that are making a profit off of pickleball?
Yes, absolutely. So when we met with you in August, we used Topgolf as the example because we knew that that would be recognizable by folks. But we didn't mention Chicken and Pickle and a number of players in the space where they are currently opening second locations within cities that they're already in, just based off the high demand that they have. There's the Pickleball Kingdom. There's several franchisees that are growing. There's a couple of folks in Jacksonville and all over really that are doing well with this type of model. Not exactly our model with some of the unique features that we're bringing to the table, but with a bar, food, and pickleball component that are doing extremely well. Yeah, the ones that we've mentioned that are local to Tampa, they only have pickleball, and they're still doing incredibly well. Again, I think we mentioned in August, but they don't have air conditioning, they don't have any amenities, and they're growing. There's a place that just opened in Clearwater called Pickle and Pint. They serve frozen pizzas and local beers and have about 12 indoor courts. They're doing fairly well so far. So it's a model that we've seen not only succeed but continue to grow. But the most emphatic point that I have from that is Chicken and Pickle being one of the largest players in the space, and they are food first and pickleball second, where we want to be, pickleball first and food is a strong component of that. They are choosing, and I believe Dallas and Phoenix, to open, a second location within those cities based off the success that they've had. Yeah.
Keep going, you're doing great. Good questions.
Well, my last question would be probably for city staff, and that is the concern, and this. We had the same concern when we were looking at developing it when we were looking at a full redevelopment years ago. And that is what happens with a project that doesn't work out the way people have anticipated, but the property has been conveyed.
Okay. Well, unless you have any provisions built into the agreement that you enter into with the other party, the property's just gone. I mean, if it doesn't work out, like you mentioned earlier, council member, unless we have some sort of clawback provision, if that sounded like it was the direction back in August, possibly if this was going to come to fruition, you'd want some sort of clawback provision. Excuse me. But even with a clawback provision, excuse me, pardon me, still recovering. Even with a clawback provision, the city's not necessarily made whole. There's still some, there's some loss there. So I don't want you to think that we would do something and they open up and they incur all their costs and they go out of business and we're just going to, we get the property back, and that's not how that's going to work. There's going to be a negotiated give and take based on the parameters you put in the provision. So it's not clean. Hence the reason you asked us to do this due diligence, to get a better idea of what are the, you can never guarantee this. I mean, I take the gentlemen at their word. They seem very sincere. I think they really, believe this is going to work. We just have to protect our interests and city's interests, and that's what we did by having this vetted that way. And ultimately, it's a sort of conscience call on the part of the council as to what you think as well. Whether you think this is the best interest or not of the community going forward.
I think Councilmember Chambers has some questions.
Yeah, one question for now. In your revenue projections, what percentage is the pickleball component of your total revenues?
I believe about 33%, give or take. I'm ballparking based off visualizing the Excel spreadsheet right now, but give or take.
Okay. My second question, I think I asked this the first time. Have you spoken with our Leisure Services Department about partnering with tournaments or things like that?
Not with the department, but we did reach out to the Tampa Pickleball Club and spoke with Derek Stewart about some...
Terrace Pickleball Club.
Yeah, sorry, Temple Terrace Pickleball Club, about opportunities to align with them, and they invited us to their board meeting in January and are really excited by the idea of both public and private court opportunities thriving in Temple Terrace.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question that I'm not sure who to direct it to, but you guys seem to know the answer. I have two accountants up here that probably know the answer to this too, and forgive my ignorance, but I'm not a business person. One of the three recommendations made by Dr. Fishkind was, the number one was to provide a firm financial commitment for the proposed SBA loan. What exactly does that mean? I'm thinking you take a loan, you're committing to make the payments. What does that mean in business?
I think what he's referring to is seeing a full approval of the SBA loan, which at this point we only have a term sheet, because the bank is not going to give us a full approval until we own the land and property, they know what we're going to build, they've seen the construction set of documents. That's a hard requirement for the SBA loan. So at this point we have a term sheet with terms, and I think what he would want to see is more of a strong commitment at that point.
Oh, I get it now.
And given that component of it, that's one of the key aspects of our initial LOI, is that we had a $100,000 escrow as part of the process, knowing that we would go into this purchase and sale agreement negotiation, we would become property owners, but the SBA loan is still a key component of our financing. So that escrow is one of the reasons, or that reason is one of the reasons we increased the escrow as high as we did.
We very much have a chicken and egg situation, right? So once we know we have the approval for the land, like everything can move forward very quickly.
Okay, I understand. Thank you for that. Are there other questions for these guys? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming. Okay, council members, so if there's other questions for staff, if not, we need to have some discussion here, I suppose. So who would like to begin?
I'm comfortable with the discussions that we've had and the pledges / promises or whatever, at least the from the potential owners, that I think we should move forward, and let's start talking. Let's come up with the plan, because they can't do anything until they get at least further down the road with the city on acquiring the property. But build it such a way, if we can, that if SBA falls, it blows it out of the water. There's got to be protections, at least as far as that aspect of it. That's what I would like to see going forward. And, I'm willing to take at face value their pledges to work towards $1 billion working capital. Working capital is critical. Without it, 6 weeks, 6 months, they could be, get an empty shell down there, as I stated and as you reiterated, Councilman Fernandez. So, but, we've got an albatross down there that we need you to work with it, see what we can do, see if we can make it go. We know the property is valued theoretically pretty close, given the circumstances from the property appraiser. I think we move forward with it cautiously.
Councilmember Fernandez?
I like the concept a lot. And really my only concern is the level of working capital. I absolutely would not use your construction estimate because I believe that construction should be expected to come in beyond what your original assessments. So I would never think that that's available for working capital. So that's really my only concern. I like the concept and the model, and I think it would really energize the space. So so I like that. It's just the working capital for me.
Well, what do you propose we do? I think we all like the concept.
I don't know. Because I don't think there's necessarily any way, or what the way would be to require a certain level of working capital.
Councilmember Chambers?
Well, I too like the concept. I attended a pickleball tournament a couple weeks ago in the city of Lakeland, and it was huge, absolutely huge. They had food trucks out there because it was at the city courts and stuff, and it was big. And of course, pickleball is big. But I've also seen back in the day, sand volleyball was a big deal, and there were a couple facilities that opened up around Tampa. The same thing, bar, restaurant, sand volleyball, and now they're different facilities because that went away. I don't think pickleball is going to go away like sand volleyball did because I can play pickleball. I can't do sand volleyball. But anyway, so that's the concept. So I love the concept. Working capital, I'm not a financial person, so I don't know the concerns that my two colleagues have. I'm more concerned if you purchase a property, which is, or I'm not sure of all the things, but if you purchase the property so you can get the SBA loan, what if you don't get the loan? Then what happens? And I should have probably asked that question.
It wouldn't close then.
It wouldn't close, okay. So that's my only concern. Working capital, that's your concerns. I can't see with this group, I really can't see that if that's starting to fail, they won't be trying to do something to change what they're doing. Otherwise, they lose a bunch. So,
City manager?
So what we've heard here tonight, as Councilmember Chambers just mentioned, is a lot about the working capital. And the gentleman mentioned that they didn't see but didn't get a chance to really respond to Mr. Fishkine's last response, basically saying, hey, this is still not, largely the working capital was still the issue, which is what's being reflected here tonight. One thing, and I'm not sure if the gentlemen are open to it, but they did mention it, I think in passing at least, the notion that, I mean, if the council, if you're not comfortable, a couple of you are not comfortable because of the working capital, you could be, the alternative there is like, okay, we're not going to go because of the working capital. Gentlemen, if you want to come back to us later, with a different working capital amount, because it sounded like they were looking at that. They weren't interested right now, but maybe in the future, if things shake out a little differently with this project, that's an alternative for them. Again, I'm speaking for them. I have no idea. This may be a complete hard, no-go for them. But I'm just throwing that out there as an alternative if the council truly likes this concept and doesn't want to walk away from it, but obviously has the other concern, which I think is a valid one, about the, trying to survive the first 6 months.
I'm kind of with you, Councilmember Chambers, in that, I'm not a experienced business person, so I'm not, feel a little outgunned here in a way, but I am very concerned that we hired this forensic financial person to look this over. And I agree with these gentlemen. He was very complimentary of a lot of things in their plan. The business model was great. I think he supported a lot of things that are good in this project. We all, I think, in the community, I think we're all clear that everybody's excited about this concept. But I'm very concerned. I guess I'm not the bold risk taker when it comes to other people's money. And I'm very concerned that we've hired this person to do this financial audit who's said there's some red flags here, not with their faulty business model, just with they don't have any experience with the restaurant, they don't have any experience with the food and beverage. The pickleball, I think, would be fine, but the food and beverage, I mean, we've seen that in the country club, right? Food and beverage has struggled there several times in history. There's a new special event / restaurant space, I'm not gonna mention them, but they're within a few miles of here in another city, that was heavily capitalized, and still is, and it's still open, but it's not meeting projected revenue there. And it's a good thing they have another side to their business that's providing the capital, because the food and beverage isn't doing it. And they're way more, that's a much bigger brand than this. And they brought in people that had experience running the food, and they're still struggling with that. I'm concerned that I love this concept. I like these guys. I think they're very passionate and they're sincere, and I think if anybody can make this work, they will do it. But I'm concerned about us doing this, and then for whatever reason it fails in a year or two. And even if we have a claw, this is just bad all the way around. It's bad for them, bad for us. Even if we have some kind of clawback, it's still bad. It's just less bad, but it's still bad. And we have egg all over our face because, well, you know, you went and hired this guy who tried to tell you that they didn't have enough working capital, and yet you did it anyway. How do you say to the constituents, yeah, we did that, and we had plenty of warning? I really love the concept, but I'm hesitant to roll the dice when we have such concerns. I would be in favor. I mean, if these guys can come back and solve some of this, and I'm not even terribly concerned about, provide a firm, now that I understand it, provide a firm financial commitment, because they're going to put money in escrow. If they wind up not getting a loan, the property doesn't close, and, so we haven't really lost anything there. I'm more concerned about the working capital being pretty close to the margin. I learned a lot from your questions. I agree with you that I don't think counting on your construction contingency is a good plan. I think you should be worried about not having enough in your construction contingency, because every building you build seems to go over. Yeah, I don't know, I'm a little reluctant on this, I'm a little hesitant. Yeah.
Question, do we have a legal basis to where we could require a minimal working capital to do this kind of transaction?
It's a transaction, so you can request what you want to request. Whether they want to comply with it or not that's the art of negotiation here. So
it's a gauge of the sincerity on all parties. We're by that I mean we're recognizing what the Fish Kind report says. We're recognizing the give and take and going back and forth. The prospective buyers have also indicated that they're willing, if necessary, to go to a supplemental equity. I can't get the right word. Equity opportunity or equity option to guarantee that. I mean, can we say that we're going to require $1 million working capital in your overall budget, over and above your current construction guesstimates and so forth?
Yeah, so you can say that. My opinion, this isn't completely me as not an attorney, but just talking as, this is a negotiation here. That's what you've been saying here this evening, I think implicitly, is that, look, if they came to the podium right now and said, hey, we heard you, we'll get $1 million by whatever date that you think, we'll come back, I think I'd be okay with just, okay, let's wait to see they come back. At the same time, we still have the property on the market, all that's still going on, if that works. And that wouldn't require us to do anything else, because right now we've already incurred time and resources to do this due diligence at this point. I wouldn't want to keep doing that in perpetuity, but it seems like that's the biggest issue, the working capital. If they could, like you said, Vice Mayor, if there's a subsequent equity that, they have to change the equity stake, and that implies changing what their plan is. But that would seem to satisfy what the council's looking for potentially. But again, it's up to them.
They've been very creative in what they've done so far. I think that there are creative ways to structure potential additional equity infusions to give them the working capital and still maintain the the ownership that they want to or are trying to accomplish.
If I understand what just happened here correctly, what the council could do tonight is to say, we love the deal, which I think we all do, but we're uncomfortable with the financial scenario, particularly the ability to get $1 million in working capital. If you want to, or you can, I don't know if maybe they don't want to, I don't know. We'll just leave things as they are, and if you want to come back to us, if you want to, and say, okay, we got it. We got the $1 million of working capital. We dug a little deeper. We got another investor, whatever we did. That might change the scenario for some of us.
Yes.
You want to do that?
I'm in favor of that. I'm in favor of moving forward with it that way. Yes.
You want to?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't somebody craft that into a motion, and then that's up to them. I mean, if they don't want to, or they don't, But I mean, this is a great concept if it was funded.
I'll give it a shot. Make a motion to work with the perspective, but the pickleball concept, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the organization, Blazing Paddles, to continue to work towards the deal with the $1 million working capital threshold for consummation of the project, the sale.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion? I'm getting a side eye here from the.
I guess I'd ask the city manager, do you feel comfortable with that, or do you need something more definite, like asking them to come back with more?
If I could.
Please, I don't make hard, fast motions.
The motion, as you framed it, Vice Mayor, implies that we're taking the lead on this?
No.
I think it has to be,
No.
I think the motion should say something to the effect of that the city is still interested in this proposal, but now it's in their court, to use, pun on the thing. It's up to them to come and meet. You have a requirement. The motion is basically saying, like, we will consider this potentially in the future if they can meet the $1 million in working capital.
That's right.
But I want to stress the fact that we do like the concept. Yeah. We're anxious. We're eager for this to come to fruition, but that to give us the comfort level and to be able to go back to our constituents and the people who live next door to us, that we've done everything we can to help them not guarantee, can't guarantee, but to work towards a successful conclusion of the entire project.
I think the more words you put into this motion.
I know. I'm just going to say what he said.
So just say, we're still open to the deal.
Yes.
If you want to come back to us when you have $1 million of working capital.
Okay. You give me the gavel and you can make that motion. Move to express to Blazing Paddles that we like the concept, and if you can come up with $1 million working capital threshold, we're still interested.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
And while I second it, can we discuss while they're talking?
Yes, but let's first hear what they say.
There's a change.
But this, the question is out there, it's still on the market, so during this time, we're gonna make it clear, we're gonna continue to leave it out on the market.
Yeah, that didn't change.
Yeah.
And we have a second discussion, Councilmember Cheney.
Yeah, so are we looking at just the $1 million capital, or were there other things in the Fishkind response that they haven't seen, that they haven't had the ability to respond back to the to the response? Do we need to even worry about anything else in that response?
I think that was the biggest stumbling block, was that we were working
Yeah, because we didn't commit to the deal. We just said we're still interested.
Okay.
We'll come back and we'll that doesn't mean we're not gonna have further questions as
Okay.
discussion.
We have a motion, a second, so it's discussion.
Yep.
I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page with this in the event, to the effect that we do like it. We want to give you guys every opportunity to make everybody up here feel comfortable. In my mind, I don't think I've ever seen any project come before council for the CRA that mandated any kind of working capital requirement. But this is the last piece, and this is almost like a keystone to the whole area, or almost the last piece. But it's keystone. It's going to be very, very visible and could be right up front, right smack dab in the middle of 56th Street. And its success is going to be paramount to the whole area. And we really, really don't want an empty shell there in 6 weeks. And I know you guys don't either. Okay? So
we have, glad you said that, because just for the record, we have turned down other offers for other parcels because of their financial perspectives. This is not, the financial discovery was done earlier in this process. We usually have done it later, but we've always done this. And we've turned down the corner, the Paragon Fountain Shops. We had another offer for that. That was a great offer. And we turned it down because they couldn't provide financial ability to perform. They couldn't demonstrate. So this isn't, I mean, we've never put a number on, we gotta have X number.
Yeah,
But we've turned down other offers because of that.
We did.
we've had other offers that we were uncomfortable with the overall financial status, but we never said we want $1 million of working capital. That's my point.
Right.
Well, I mean, for my part, it's not necessarily putting a specific dollar on it. That is the recommendation for this business to be viable. But no, we haven't stated a dollar amount in the past because we haven't necessarily gotten to the point where we had a business model where you could actually quantify what you would really need in order to survive until your expected profit, exceeded your expenses. So, and the number one reason that businesses fail and have failed is their working capital is not there to sustain them, so.
Okay, so I think we have a good motion. I think we're in general agreement.
Yes.
So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays? Thank you for your patience. Best of luck. We hope you come back. We really do. So, still on city manager's report.
Second half of this discussion.
Oh, that's right. We have to talk, yes. So the appraisal came back at 1.445.
That's correct.
Would you like to provide a little input on that, since you are here and you have been patiently waiting? We don't want to make that decision without talking to our broker.
John Lochner, Florida ROI. Good evening. Pretty much everything that the city manager stated kind of nails the situation. One clarification, the 1.8 offer was a mixed-use, affordable senior housing with retail on the ground floor, just a clarification. Excuse me. The other point I'd like to make is we now have an appraisal on the record, public record. So people will see that, obviously. We can set whatever price we want, but if you're a developer and you have a current appraisal out there, it's hard to pay more than that, if that makes sense.
So you would be in agreement that we should probably just set the price at the appraised?
Well, I mean, the issue is, we had an offer at 1.8, right? So it depends on what the development is, and it depends on what the CRA board and council intends to do with the property. 1.8 works for something that the board and council didn't want to have, correct? So you have to take that into consideration.
Yeah. Well, they would be willing to pay a little more upfront for the property if they're not going to pay taxes on it.
Right.
So,
Except for the retail portion, yeah.
yeah. Okay, other questions for our broker while he's up?
Require a motion, or what do we need to do with that?
Thank you. It would require a motion.
Yeah. Would that have to go back to the CRA first? CRA agency?
I think you could do it here tonight. It's your property.
I'm sorry?
Are you talking about whether it has to be done by the CRA or?
Does it have to go through the CRA process?
No, because
Okay,
the
all
city
right,
owns the
just-
property.
okay, that's
You
fine,
ultimately
that's fine.
determine as the council what to do with the property.
Okay. 1.455, I think is the.
1.445.
1.445?
Yes.
So I move that we revalue the property in our listing to the appraised value of 1.445 million.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Thank you very much. City manager,
So I have.
all you have.
I have two questions for him.
Okay, fire away.
So the first has to do with the calendar that you have on the city's webpage, the homepage. I just wondered, does that have all of the city events on it? So for example, Winter Wonderland would be listed or anything that the city is organizing or sponsoring?
It should, there's, and I'm gonna ask our PIO, Ms. Rodriguez, to come up, because I know the calendar has two tabs. I think there's a meeting tab and events tab. So
Hi, good evening. I'm Maria Rodriguez, PIO. Yes, and departments should upload events in there, so they should be in there.
Okay, no, I just want people who might be listening to know that we do have a live calendar on the website, on the homepage, where they can find the city council meetings and agendas, but they could also find events that are happening here that are sponsored by the city or city events.
Yes, ma'am, homepage.
Thank you. And then I know that we talked about this at the last meeting, but for those who maybe didn't see it, can you give us the schedule for updating on the water treatment and the consultant's report?
Sure. So, as we've mentioned before, we've spoken to this back in September and again last month or October. So the consultant, CHA, there's a couple of paths we're following here, because this issue, as the council is aware, we've mentioned to the community multiple times, this is a complex issue, not just PFAS, but it also deals with emergency and redundancy purposes of securing our water system. So we're looking at a number of different alternatives. I've been reporting to the council on a weekly basis all the research and due diligence we've been doing here. So just on the PFAS issue alone, CHA was commissioned to do a study, a pilot study and an analysis, and come up with a recommendation for us to consider with pricing. As we started doing that evaluation, our staff and their resources and their networks, they were also discovering that there are other new technologies, cutting-edge technologies that are out there that might be more affordable than some of these other state technologies that have been used. We talked about granulated activity carbon, reverse osmosis, ion exchange. Well, there's other things out there now that are entering the marketplace, as you can imagine, because everybody in the country is going through the same challenge right now. So we tasked CHA saying, we want you to test all of these things. We want you to test, not all of these things, we're not testing the universe of things, but they're testing a variety of things. So that process, because we've had them do more, it's going to take longer. And so as we've expressed to council, to get through the pilot testing and the analysis, it's going to go into the spring to probably end of June or so before we get the recommendation back and the financial analysis that we're going to have to do, because we have to report to you, the council, to say, okay, here's what it is, here's what it's going to cost, now how are we going to fund it? So that still will take some time. So that moved. Originally, we thought we'd be done by the end of December, but as I mentioned, because of what I just talked about, we have to push that out. Concurrently, we're working with the city of Tampa and with Hillsborough County on other alternatives, which would also touch on PFAS, which is rather than every single community in Florida or in the Tampa Bay area all buying their filtration systems, is there a way for us to buy water, bulk water, from either through Tampa or through the county to help reach the numbers for PFAS required by the EPA in 2031. So we've looked at that, the connection with the city of Tampa and the connection with Hillsborough County. The numbers, I don't have them right in front of me, but they were anywhere between 25 million and 35 to 40 million dollars, in that, roughly that range, just to connect, because we're talking about long distances, particularly for Hillsborough County. Hillsborough County would be our probably most viable option, because they buy water from Tampa Bay Water, and they don't have any restrictions to sell. Tampa has some restrictions, but Hillsborough County is also the longest run. It would probably be a 3-mile run of pipe, and that is going to be very, very costly. And underground work, as we know from the Fowler project, is not easy and can be complicated, right? So we've got those numbers, we're looking at that. We've also looked at, just for the redundancy alone, aside from PFAS, looking at, do we get another storage tank for water? And I've reported to council on this as well. If we got another storage tank, we could at least address some of those emergency issues. For example, if we have to take a tank down, when we took Sunningdale, took that tank down, we also took down the wells that fed that tank. So that created a lot of pressure challenges on the city system. So if we get another tank and we can acquire it and construct it, that might help with that. So even if we never connect to Tampa or the county, again, because we're talking 25 to $40 million numbers, that may not come to fruition. So perhaps the tank will be another alternative, in addition to still looking at the PFAS solution, which we're analyzing right now and testing. So that's where we are. I will tell the public, just like I mentioned here, we are updating our water questions page on our website. So anyone for the public that wants to know sort of what's the latest, please go to the water questions tab on our city website. We have updates on there. Well, much of what I talked about just now has been up there for several weeks already on that website. And when we get new information, we will continue to put it out there. And then once we get closer and we have a package of real substantive alternatives that we can actually bring to you, then I think that's when I suggested, scheduling another town hall and doing that public meeting setting so that the public can have personal, direct information.
So just for the consultant, when we would expect, maybe we're talking, they would come back with their report sometime in June. When they present, will they present several options to the council for us to consider?
I would imagine that they probably would, and there would probably be costs and pros and cons associated with those options. That's what I would consider that they would do. There's probably one option that will probably be the one that they, again, will be the number one recommendation based on a combination of factors, but they will probably cite others that they've tested. And there may be features to why those others aren't ranked as high. For example, could be that based on our water quality or the hardness of our water, that perhaps they're not as effective as another type of system. So that will all be contemplated.
So should we then expect to actually have a meeting, we won't know for sure, but to potentially have a meeting about those solutions maybe in July? Or would we think we would schedule that in August? If they come back to us in June.
What I would like to do is, obviously, the sooner I can get the information, the sooner we can have some financial analysis done, present it to the council first. And then subsequent to that, schedule the town hall, and because you may give us some direction also as to some of the things you're thinking, and then schedule a town hall. I give June as the date, because that's the date they've given us. That would probably be on the outside, the end of June. It may be earlier, and if it's earlier, we move that earlier. I don't want to create an expectation that it will be in February or March, because it may end up being the end of June.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I hate to belabor this point, but, and necessity is the mother of invention, okay? And people are out beating the bushes, coming up with new ideas all the time. I will make sure that we're not paying for the research and new options, other than them waiting for the time for it to be available for public consumption or whatnot, public edification. Can we kind of sort of go back to them and say, is this your best estimate? Because I know I get pressure all the time from individuals saying, well, why is it going to take so long? Why are we not pushing it back 3 months? And it becomes difficult. And referring to the website for the latest and greatest information. But people get antsy and they read into it, and we need to. I would just like to say, we're back to them. We said, yeah, what can you do it? Can you do it a little bit quicker without jeopardizing or sacrificing quality for the end result. That's all I'm saying.
Sure, no, we can certainly have that conversation. I just want to stress that whatever solution we ultimately choose and the council supports, that's the solution you're going to have for forever, probably. So you want to make sure that it's done right. So I will have that conversation through Mr. Warrenfeld's and CHA about, is there a way to expedite this? But again, we want to make sure we get it right, because you're only going to do this one time, hopefully this one time, because it's going to be a huge, huge investment on the part of the utility.
Any other questions for
No.
Mr. Revere? Very good. City Attorney's report.
Nothing tonight.
Okay. Directors, did we miss anything? Nobody's going to stand up. Your colleagues will tackle you. Okay, any other business, council members?
See y'all soon.
I just want to say, good discussion tonight, good questions, good dialogue, and appreciate it. It was a good meeting. We got a lot of good business done. Thank you to staff, particularly on the short-term rentals. We got a lot of good business transacted tonight, so thank you. And we will be adjourned.
Thank you.